Most people reincarnate as a tiger or a snake. Me? I came back as a lake. Well, more like a puddle, barely 6 feet across. And I'm sitting right in the middle of a desert. Watching my water evaporate, I realized I wasn't going to last long before I dried up completely. But right when I was about to lose it, a system panel popped up in my head. It showed I had 2 Tier 1 skills, Spring Rain and Water Bind, with 100 energy remaining. And by leveling up, I could evolve into the Spirit Lake that heals all, the Elemental Lake that controls wind, ice, fire, thunder, and lightning, or even the Faith Lake that rules everything. I could actually pull this off. But just as I was digging into the system, a red alert suddenly blasted through. Host death by evaporation. Countdown. 12 hours. I wanted to cry. No time to waste. I started learning the system fast. Spring Rain was basically a rainfall ability. It could make it rain anywhere within the lake's range. And the rain was spirit infused, so it actually boosted growth for any living thing it touched. Water Bind let me use water to restrain enemies, but both skills cost energy to use. 100 energy was only enough for 2 casts, and I had no idea yet how to get more. But clearly, I didn't have time to figure that out right now. Lakes die when they run dry, so as long as I kept myself from drying up, I'd survive. I used Spring Rain. My energy dropped to 50. Then a breeze rolled in. Barely took the edge off the heat and the sky. Not a single cloud. Is this system even real? I started to panic. Then a few raindrops hit the surface. The drizzle picked up, and it just kept coming down harder and harder. I felt this rush of relief wash over me. It rained for a full hour, and when it finally stopped, I was 3 times bigger. I was sitting at maybe 70-80 square feet now, barely qualified as a pond. I pulled up the system panel again. The red alert was gone. My heart had been racing since I got here. I could finally breathe. Then suddenly I felt a rumble in the distance. Through my senses, I could tell a herd of bison was charging straight toward me. This place had been bone dry forever. The moment it rained, of course they'd come looking for water. I tensed up. Bison run in herds. If a few showed up and called the whole crew over, they'd lick me dry in seconds. I had no idea if Waterbind could even handle them. But I had to make a statement, scare them off, or everything I'd built up would be gone in one gulp. The first bison stomped through the mud and came right up to me, that massive mouth reaching down to drink. A water rope shot out and coiled tight around its neck, yanking it under. The bison thrashed hard the second it got hit. But the grip on its neck just kept getting tighter, pulling harder. The more it struggled, the deeper it sank into the mud. Eventually its whole head got dragged under, and as the thrashing slowed down, the surface went still. The other bison that showed up late had already bolted, standing far off, staring back in pure terror. Ding. Host has slain a low-level beast. Balls 100 energy. First kill achievement unlocked. Bonus, Puz 100 energy. No way, that came out of nowhere. After subtracting the 50 energy I spent on Waterbind, I was sitting at 200 energy. So killing things was how you farm energy. Got it. I watched the spooked bison in the distance and zoned out for a second. In the middle of this endless desert, I was the only water source around. There was no way those bison could resist the thirst, or the pull of spirit water. These things were basically walking energy packs. Next morning I opened the system panel again. Something had changed. Energy was up to 500. Sure enough, those bison from last night couldn't hold out. They all came. This upgrade drained me down to just 500 energy points, but my size expanded again and I unlocked a brand new attack skill. Even the plants and fish inside me got a boost. They started growing way faster. Water arrow. Pretty self-explanatory. It lets me fire condensed water arrows at enemies, and each one costs 100 energy. I can fire up to 20 at once, and the bigger the lake, the more arrows I can summon. Seeing all this, I was kind of stressed. At my current energy level, I could only use water arrow 5 times. But hey, with a new attack skill in my arsenal, I was confident I could take down that fire lion, and the system reward was going to be massive. From the buffalo's memories, I knew the fire lion's main prey was buffalo. But after all the hunting it had been doing lately, barely any buffalo were coming to drink anymore. I had to figure out a way to gather enough buffalo. That was the only way to lure the fire lion here. The next evening I used spring rain again. Only a wide-range rainfall like this could be tempting enough to bring the buffalo back to drink. Sure enough, right as night fell, a few buffalo cautiously made their way over. They poked around the edge of the lake for a bit, and once they were sure nothing was off, they started drinking like crazy. At my current size, I could afford to spare a little water, but to lure in the fire lion, I held back and didn't move an inch. By day 3, more and more animals were gathering around the lake. There were even a few water birds splashing around, just goofing off. I was still waiting patiently. I needed to sell the illusion that this place was completely safe. Once every animal in the area was coming here to drink, the fire lion would have no choice but to hunt here too. And maybe because they'd been drinking the spirit-infused lake water, the animals nearby seemed sharper, more alive. Like juicy, tender pieces of meat, just waiting for the fire lion to come take a bite. 2 whole days passed with no sign of the fire lion. Watching those buffalo just casually bathing in the lake without a care in the world, I was honestly about to snap. Finally, on day 4, I sensed the fire lion in the distance. It was here. I got so excited the surface of the lake started rippling. Watching the fire lion get closer and closer, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. This was my first time hunting a tier 3 beast, and this one looked anything but ordinary. Could I actually pull this off? Honestly, I wasn't so sure. When the fire lion was still about 500 meters out, the animals by the lake finally panicked and bolted. The buffalo that had been playing in the water were especially terrified, scrambling desperately to get ashore. Meanwhile, I was controlling the current at the bottom of the lake, quietly creating an undertow to stop one buffalo from getting out. In a flash, the fire lion reached the lake's edge and clamped its jaws around the buffalo's neck. Blood immediately spread across a huge stretch of the water. The buffalo barely struggled before it went limp. Just as the fire lion was about to let go of the carcass, I activated waterbind. 3 water ropes shot out of the lake and came straight for it. The fire lion flinched. It was smart, though. It hurled the buffalo's body right at the ropes. But these ropes were controlled by my consciousness. Insanely agile. They dodged the carcass and kept coiling toward the fire lion. The fire lion opened its massive jaws and launched a fireball, hitting one rope and vaporizing it instantly. But the other 2 ropes wrapped tight around its neck, and just like that, a tug of war began. This fire lion was no joke. It was holding its own against my entire lake, and the ring of fire around its neck was getting bigger and bigger. The water ropes coiled around it were about to be gone. 3 quick whooshes and 3 water blades shot out from the lake. The first one went straight for its head, the other 2 right behind it. The fire lion let out a roar and blasted a wall of fire from its mouth. The fire cloud wasn't fast, but it spread right out in front. The first water blade hit it head on and got vaporized instantly. The second one punched through, the fire cloud shuddered, but still didn't go out. My heart dropped. I yanked the third blade sideways at the last possible second, swung around the fire cloud, and came straight down from above. The fire lion screamed, and the water blade vanished without a trace. But now there was a massive hole in its skull, blood pouring out. I pulled it into the lake with a water rope. The surface went calm. Only a bloodstain in the mud was left. Proof that something went down here. That fight drained every last bit of energy I had, completely tapped out. But hey, I still devoured that tier 3 spirit beast. Worth it. Ding! Congratulations, host. You've consumed a common rank tier 3 rock lion. Blurs 3000 energy. Unknown energy detected. Refine it? Refine. I figured it was probably that ring of flames around the rock lion's neck. Rock lion flame refined. Host's fire resistance increased. My true form is water, so fire's basically my one natural weakness. Didn't expect refining flames could boost my resistance too, but that's huge. If I refine even stronger flames down the line, who knows? Maybe I could swallow the sun itself. All in all, this ambush was a complete success. Scored 3000 energy in one go. Let me take stock of where I'm at. Best ways to gain energy so far: hunting, consuming creatures, and refining special substances. And all of that depends on skills. Here's what I've got right now. Spring Rain is my core skill for boosting my own mass. Waterbind and Waterblade are my main offensive skills. Time to think about upgrading. 500 energy gets me Spring Rain and Waterbind upgrades. 1000 energy for the Waterblade upgrade. Yeah, upgrading is not cheap. And this is just level 1 to 2. It's only going to get more expensive. But if I want to hunt bigger prey and earn more energy, I have to upgrade. So I went all in, maxed everything out, spent 2000 energy just like that. Then I wanted to test the level 2 skills, so I used Spring Rain again. This time it cost 100 energy, and the scale was way more intense. It poured for hours. I could feel the water was way more packed with spirit energy. But even with all that rain, my mass wasn't growing as much as I expected. I focused and scanned my surroundings, and finally spotted something off right there in the mud nearby. A single seed, no idea where it came from, just going absolutely crazy absorbing spirit rain. Every drop near it got sucked right in. This thing was stealing my water. I had to find out what this thing even was. I was low-key annoyed, but also kinda curious, so I deliberately flooded it with lake water. Nearly 15 minutes later, it finally stopped drinking. A seed the size of a peanut just chugged 15 minutes worth of lake water. Wild. Then, I sensed it. Like it was full, it shook a little and sprouted a green shoot. 2 little leaves poking around left and right, then kept on growing fast. In no time at all, what started as a single seed shot up into a tree over a meter tall. What really blew my mind was that underneath all that mud, there were roots over 6 feet long, all tangled up and creeping straight toward me. Never satisfied, are you? I didn't hesitate. Fired off a water blade and sent it straight at the trunk it had just grown. One clean hit, and the trunk snapped right off. I swear I could hear this horrible wailing echo through my head, sent chills down my spine. And those roots that had been growing like crazy underground? They stopped dead. Congratulations, host. You've established a connection with the mutant ghost thorn tree. Please choose, bond with it as a companion or enslave the ghost thorn tree. Wait, there's a feature like that? Honestly didn't see that coming. I took a moment to think it over. The ghost thorn tree is normally just a common desert plant, but this one mutated. It developed this terrifying ability to devour blood and souls to power itself up. Back when I was hunting other creatures, the ghost thorn tree had been quietly feeding on their blood and souls the whole time. And now, after getting soaked in spirit rain, it finally fully emerged. With the system's prompt in front of me, I chose to bond with the mutant ghost thorn tree as companions. My top priority right now is to hunt as many creatures as possible and stack up energy to level up. Blood and souls are useless to me, but they're exactly what the mutant ghost thorn tree needs. Perfect trade. We both get what we want. And down the line, with my help, that ghost thorn tree is going to become something truly terrifying. Bond established. Congratulations, host. For bonding with the mutant ghost thorn tree, you've been rewarded 2000 energy points. You've also unlocked a new skill, soul communication. Directly communicate with any living being that has a soul. When I pulled up my system panel again, things had already changed. A new section had appeared next to my own info. Bonded creature, mutant ghost thorn tree level. Mortal tier, level 2. Host, Chuchen. Skills, ghost thorn, bloodlust, soul devour. Warning. The mutant ghost thorn tree's sentience is growing at an alarming rate. It is extremely malevolent. Keep it in check. Already on the same level as me straight out of the gate. Yeah, that's wild. As for the system's warning, I wasn't too worried. A bonded creature can't betray you, evil or good. In a brutal world like this, being good gets you nowhere. After all that fighting, the beasts had long since bolted. They weren't coming back anytime soon. I diverted some water to feed the ghost thorn tree. After another terrifying feeding session, the trunk I'd sliced off earlier started growing back. With a fresh 2,000 energy points in hand, I wasn't about to hold back. I dropped 1,000 of them straight into rainfall. This time I didn't bother limiting the rain's range. Spirit-infused rain began falling across the entire area where the lake used to be. A soft, steady rain that kept going on and off for a whole week. Countless trees that had long been dead started coming back to life, and seeds from even farther away began sprouting. Right in the middle of this dead wasteland, the area around me had become the only oasis. And that stark contrast caught the attention of a lot of creatures. The animals that had witnessed the slaughter earlier were still lingering in the distance, holding themselves back. But others that had come from farther away couldn't help themselves. They started moving toward me. At this point, though, hunting regular beasts wasn't worth my time anymore. Only magical beasts could give me a real payoff. So I ordered the ghost thorn tree to stand down. I was turning this place into a haven, something that would draw in much more powerful beings. That day, I was just drifting lazily across the water, taking in all the ways this world was unlike anything else. Then I suddenly sensed a powerful energy surge coming from the distance, moving toward me fast. Before long, it appeared right at the edge of the lake. The animals drinking and playing by the lake had no idea what was coming. Then, boom! A massive explosion sent them all scattering in a panic. But me? I wasn't scared at all. If anything, I almost lost it with excitement. Finally, humans. One of them looked to be in his 30s or 40s, carrying a wizard's staff. Look closer, though, and you'd notice something off. The arm he had exposed was nothing but bare bone. The other one was slightly shorter than a normal adult human, but the wings on his back and the bow in his hand made it clear. He wasn't human. He was an elf. Kurus, you've trespassed into the elven forest. In the name of the king, I sentence you to death. The elf's bow lit up with a dim, earthy yellow glow. The necromancer across from him, Kurus, didn't say a word. He just went dead silent, his staff floating in front of his chest as he started chanting. Then the bone staff drove itself straight into his own chest. Kurus's face twisted, pain and desperation all at once. Blood crept up the staff toward a black orb at the top, and the orb slowly turned blood red. Forbidden dark magic! Kurus, how dare you! Kurus finished the incantation fast. The staff stopped drinking his blood. The red light surged and completely overwhelmed the green glow from Grandy's bow. Then, out of the red light, a massive scythe took shape, and it came straight for Grandy. Grandy didn't flinch. He looked like he had already made peace with dying. His wings beat hard, and a giant yellow sword formed and launched forward in an instant. Then Grandy vanished. In a single breath, he'd retreated over 100 meters. The yellow sword and the red scythe collided, but there was no earth-shattering crash like you'd expect. The sword barely held on for a moment before it shattered. Meanwhile, Grandy was sprinting away without looking back, desperate to outrun the death scythe's reaping. But it was pointless. Grandy didn't even get to scream. His head dropped cleanly to the side, while his body carried on for a few more steps on pure momentum. Kurus, who'd watched the whole thing, finally had no strength left to stand, and just dropped hard onto the ground. I stayed hidden nearby, watching in silence, not daring to breathe, terrified someone might notice me, because I could still sense it. Something terrifying hadn't gone away yet. Sure enough, the death scythe didn't disappear after reaping Grandy. Instead, an eye appeared on the blade. Indifference, dread, death. Those were the only words any living thing could think of when they looked at that eye. Kurus stared up at the blood-red scythe in the sky, mouth hanging open, completely speechless. Then, in a flash, the scythe was gone, and so was Kurus's head. A burst of yellow light shot out from Grandy's corpse and punched straight through the void. Gone. Everything happened so fast, I just stood there completely dazed. After snapping back, I cast Aquabind twice, dragging the bodies of Kurus and Grandy, along with their bow and staff, into the water. I didn't expect this little lake to be hiding something. That caught me off guard. I couldn't sense any life signatures at all, but that voice was Kurus. He wasn't dead. Sure enough, crawling out of Kurus's mangled corpse was a shrunken, barely recognizable version of him. You filthy rat! I am a servant of the great death god, and how dare you set your eyes on my body? Figures. Necromancers are slippery like that. Soul manipulation is their specialty. He actually managed to keep his soul intact after using forbidden magic. But judging by the way he was looking around nervously, Kurus had no idea I was there. A soul fragment, huh? Perfect time to test out Ghostspike. After thinking it over, the ghost thorn tree is normally just a common desert plant. But this one mutated. It gained the terrifying ability to devour blood and souls to power itself up. Back when I was out hunting, the ghost thorn tree was secretly feeding on the blood and souls. Now, fed by the spirit rain, it finally broke through and fully emerged. Following the system's prompt, I chose to bond with a mutant ghost thorn tree. That was a calculated move. My top priority right now is to kill as many creatures as possible and grind for levels. The blood and souls I collect are useless to me, but they're exactly what the mutant ghost thorn tree needs. We scratch each other's backs, and honestly, I can already see what's coming. With my help, this ghost thorn tree is going to become an absolute monster. Bond successful, congrats! Host has bonded with the mutant ghost thorn tree. You've been rewarded 2,000 energy points and unlocked a new skill. Soul Link. Lets you communicate directly with any creature that has a soul. When I pulled up my system panel again, things had already changed. Right next to my own info, there was a brand new tab. Bonded creature, mutant ghost thorn tree. Rank, common tier 2. Skills, ghost thorn, bloodlust, soul devour. Warning, this mutant ghost thorn tree develops sentience extremely fast. Highly malevolent. Keep it in check. Born 5 minutes ago and already on my level? Yeah, that's just wrong. As for the system's warning, I wasn't really worried. A bonded creature can't turn on you. That's just how it works. Evil or good? In a place this brutal, being good gets you nowhere. I focused my senses toward the ghost thorn tree, and it sent back this wave of pure excitement through our soul link. But since it literally just sprouted, its soul was still really weak. We couldn't have a real conversation, just vague impressions. Things like hunger for blood and souls. After the fight earlier, all the beasts had already bolted and wouldn't be coming back anytime soon. So all I could do was redirect some water to feed the ghost thorn tree. After the tree had its fill, the trunk that I'd blasted apart with my water sword technique started growing back together. With 2,000 fresh energy points, I didn't need to be stingy anymore. I dropped 1,000 points straight into rainfall. This time, though, I didn't bother limiting the range of the rain. The entire area where the lake used to be got soaked in spirit-infused rain, a light, steady drizzle that kept going for a whole week. The sun up above was still brutal, the desert still baking hot, but this one spot stayed overcast, almost cool. Tons of dead trees came back to life. Seeds from farther out even started sprouting. Right here in the middle of a death desert, I had created the only oasis around. An environment this different from everything else drew a lot of attention. Animals that had witnessed the slaughter were still lurking in the distance, fighting the urge to come closer. But others that came from farther away couldn't help themselves and moved right in. From where I stood, hunting regular beasts just wasn't worth my time anymore. Only magical creatures could give me the gains I needed. So I ordered the ghost thorn tree to stand down. I was going to turn this place into a sanctuary, to draw in something a whole lot stronger. That day, I was just drifting peacefully through the rippling water, taking in what made this world so different. Then I felt it, a powerful energy surge, closing in fast. It was moving toward me at crazy speed, and within moments it appeared right at the lake's edge. The animals hanging around the lake didn't even have time to react. Then came a massive boom, and they all scattered in a panic. Me? I wasn't scared at all. I was pumped. If I could talk, I'd have straight up yelled, "Finally, a human!" Though this guy didn't exactly look like he was doing great. The one who showed up was wearing a long gray robe, sharp nose, blue eyes, looked maybe in his 30s or 40s, and was carrying a wizard's staff. Look closer, though. The arm sticking out from the sleeve? Nothing but bare bone. And the other one I almost mistook for a human. He was slightly smaller than your average adult, but those pointed ears, that pale-as-death skin, the wings on his back, and the bow in his hand, all of it gave him away. He wasn't human. He was an elf. Kurus. You've trespassed into the elven forest. In the name of the king, I sentence you to death. A dull, earthy glow crept along the male elf's bow. Across from him, the wizard named Kurus looked like he was bracing for the worst, staff hovering in front of his chest, lips moving in a chant. Then the bone staff's tip suddenly drove straight into Kurus's own chest. Pain and desperation flashed across his face as blood crawled up the staff toward a single black bead at the top, slowly turning blood red. Forbidden dark magic. Kurus, you wouldn't dare. Grandy, youngest heir of the Earth Elf clan, your arrogance will be your end. Let the great god of death grant you eternal life. Kurus finished his chant, and the staff stopped drawing blood. The red light surged and completely overwhelmed the green glow around Grandy. Then, out of nowhere, a massive scythe materialized in the red light, swinging straight down at Grandy. Grandy didn't flinch, not even a step back, ready to go down fighting. His wings exploded into motion, and a giant yellow blade of energy shot forward. In the same instant, Grandy vanished. He'd already bolted back 100 meters in a single breath. The yellow blade clashed with the red scythe. No earth-shattering boom like you'd expect. The blade held for just a moment before shattering, and by then, Grandy was already sprinting forward, no looking back, desperately trying to outrun the death scythe's reaping, but it was all for nothing. Grandy didn't even get to scream. His head hit the ground beside him, and his body kept running for another few steps. Kurus, who'd watched the whole thing, finally lost the strength to stay standing, just dropped straight down onto the ground. I stayed hidden nearby, watching in silence, not daring to breathe, terrified of being noticed. because I could still sense it. Something terrifying hadn't gone away. Sure enough, the death scythe didn't vanish after reaping Grandy. Instead, an eye opened on the blade. Cold. Dread. Death. That's all anyone who laid eyes on that thing could possibly think. Kurus was staring up at the blood-red scythe in the sky, mouth hanging open, not a single word coming out. Then, in a flash, the scythe disappeared. Kurus's head left his body. A streak of yellow light ripped out of Grandy's corpse and punched straight through the void. Gone. It all happened so fast. I just stood there, frozen. Once I snapped out of it, I cast Waterbind twice, pulling in Kurus's and Grandy's bodies from across the way, bows, staff, and all, straight into the water. Didn't expect this tiny little lake to be hiding something. I froze. I couldn't feel any life signatures at all. That voice, it was Kurus. He wasn't dead. Sure enough, out of what was left of Kurus's mangled corpse, crawled a shrunken, barely recognizable version of him. You filthy little rat. I am a servant of the great death god. You dare lay a hand on my body. Classic undead sorcerer. They're always pulling something like this. Masters of soul manipulation. He actually managed to keep his soul intact after casting a forbidden spell. But judging by the way he was looking around all confused, Kurus had no idea I was there. Soul form, huh? Time to see what Ghost Spike can do. I wasn't scared one bit. If Kurus were at full power, yeah, I probably couldn't take him. But a Kurus that's nothing but a soul? Up against my Ghost Spike, built specifically to devour souls, he was basically a lamb to the slaughter. The Ghost Spike tree's branches were already trembling. It could barely hold itself back. An undead sorcerer's soul. What a meal. The moment I gave the order, the black thorns on the Ghost Spike tree's trunk launched straight at Kurus hovering over the lake. He had no time to dodge. He never even saw it coming. No way he expected that little sapling behind him to attack. Every single thorn hit. You miserable little rat. I'll place your soul before the god statue and burn it, slowly, piece by piece. The soul-bound body kept shifting shapes, clearly taking some serious damage. The ghost thorns exploded, blasting Kurus's soul into pieces. A powerful undead warlock who'd survived the Light Temple's manhunt, and an elven royal who'd once killed an earth spirit heir, both just wiped out effortlessly by my creature. The ghost thorn tree couldn't wait. It reached out a root. I let it drain the blood, but didn't let it touch the souls. Not yet. I needed to extract their memories through the system first. Plus, souls stripped of memories are purer, way easier for the ghost thorn tree to absorb. Ding! Congratulations, host. You've obtained the corpse of a transcendent Tier 3 elven royal. Reward, 2,000 energy points. Congratulations, host. You've obtained the corpse of a transcendent Tier 2 dark warlock. Reward, 1,000 energy points. Special materials detected. Dragon bone, staff, and elven bow. Refine? Refinement successful. Reward, 1,000 energy points. Just from looting corpses, I got this much? Yeah, I did not see that coming. So as long as I can get my hands on creature corpses, I get energy? Honestly, that makes things a whole lot simpler. A bigger plan started taking shape in my head. If it works, it could get me a ton of energy fast. After processing everything, I finally had a much clearer picture of this world. The memories from that warlock and the elf were way richer than anything I'd gotten from beasts or monsters. My understanding of this world just leveled up. This place is called the Divine Demon Continent, and it's chaotic. All kinds of creatures, all kinds of factions tangled up together. The strongest of them all is the Holy Light Temple. They worship the god of light and believe every living thing should exist under the light, forever. Then there's Kurus's faction, the Witch Palace. They worship the god of death. They believe death is the only path to eternal life. Grandy's elven clan is also one of the most powerful races around, but they keep to themselves deep in the elven forest. They rarely come out, and they don't let anyone in. Cross that line, and they'll hunt you down without end. That's exactly what happened to Kurus. Hunted by the Light Temple's mages, he had nowhere left to run and was forced into the elven forest, only to be spotted by Grandy and chased all over again. The spell Kurus used at the end was Sacrificial Dark Magic, Forbidden Tier. Once cast, the power is insane, but the caster has to give up their own life. Whether you're a light mage or a dark warlock, almost nobody ever uses it. This world still has way too many unknowns for me. I'm genuinely still weak. If Kurus hadn't been pushed to use that forbidden spell, if they hadn't basically taken each other out, I wouldn't have been able to handle either one of them at my current strength. Still too weak. I couldn't help but shake my head. And these were just one undead warlock and one elven royal. What about the bishops of the Light Temple, the elven king, or the god of light and the god of death themselves? How insanely powerful are they? Lucky for me, I've got the system. I believe one day I'll stand at the same level as the gods. This time I barely had to do anything, and I walked away with 4,000 energy points, just enough for my next upgrade. System, level me up. Ding, 4,000 energy points deducted. Congratulations, host. You've advanced to level 3. The lake's calm surface suddenly churned, and my body expanded once again. I was back to full size, the way I was before the lake dried up. 800 meters of water in every direction. Now we're talking. Pretty happy with where I'm at. Compared to that tiny puddle I started as, this is a full-on lake now. Suddenly, a soul ripple came from the ghost thorn tree. I checked the system panel. Creature mutation. Ghost thorn tree. Mortal tier 3. It leveled up right along with me. Looks like Kurus and Grandy's souls did it a lot of good. Master, I'm hungry. A young, delicate voice came through in my senses. The ghost thorn tree. Wait, I can actually talk to myself now. Yeah, honestly, that's exactly what I wanted. Been alone this whole time. Not a single soul to talk to. If this keeps up, I'm gonna lose my mind before I ever become a god. Just to kill time, I messed around with Ghost Thorn, helping it learn how to talk, like a dad teaching his kid their first words. It's been a whole month since I landed here. Other than some bottom-of-the-food chain beasts and a handful of demon creatures, I haven't run into a single organized race, let alone a human tribe. That's starting to tick me off. If I can't connect with an intelligent race, leveling up on my own could take forever. As the lake kept expanding, so did my field of vision. But I still couldn't see where this desert ended. I was starting to lose hope. One morning, I was just goofing around with Ghost Thorn out of boredom. By now, it had the mind of a kid around 11 or 12. I even gave it a name, took my last name Chu, called it Tianba. Then out of nowhere, I picked up the sound of hoofbeats in my range, like thousands of horses charging straight at me. Could it be a human army? Now that would be great news. But when they finally came into view, my jaw dropped. That was no army. It was a swarm of giant scorpions. Each one half the size of a horse. No wonder it sounded like a stampede. The ones up front were especially massive, with a deep purple tint and black glowing stingers. Before long, the scorpion army rolled up to the lake. The lead scorpion general turned back, and every single one came to a perfect halt. It pointed its claws at a few scorpion soldiers and signaled them to go drink. Only after those soldiers drank safely and returned to formation did the general send the rest to drink in shifts, while I stayed hidden and kept still. From what I could sense, the scorpion general was only level 3, the ones behind it level 2, and the rest of the troops just level 1. But commanding an army this disciplined? That was seriously impressive. I'd hunted demon beasts before that were level 3, but none of them had this kind of intelligence. I decided to sit tight and see what these scorpions would do next. If I could swallow them all at once, a few thousand scorpions would give me a massive energy boost. Once every last soldier finished drinking, the general finally walked up itself, just dipped its head into the water, and right when I was debating whether to strike, everything changed. A massive rumble came from the distance, even louder than the scorpion army's arrival. Leading the lizard army was also a level 3 general. The lizard army moved in to surround them, trapping the scorpions right at the lake's edge. Was this about to turn into an all-out brawl? If so, I could just sit back and clean up after. As the lizards closed in, the scorpion army briefly panicked. The scorpion general didn't even get to finish drinking. It immediately waved its claws and got the troops into formation. The lizard army kept pushing forward. The scorpions kept falling back, until a bunch of them were already half in the water. Both sides looked ready to explode, but I noticed something. Neither the scorpion general nor the lizard general actually wanted to throw the first punch. It was the troops themselves, usually under tight control, who were starting to lose it. Watching both sides stuck in a standoff, something clicked for me. If neither of you wants to go first, let me give you a little push. With a sharp whoosh, a water spear shot out from the lake and tore through 2 or 3 scorpion soldiers before it faded. The scorpion army was already on the back foot. One loud noise from behind sent them into a full panic, and they charged straight for the outside. But the lizard army had them surrounded tight. That one collision was all it took. The battle between the two races exploded wide open. Both generals were completely blindsided, barking orders left and right trying to get things under control, but it wasn't doing jack. These two sides were already at each other's throats. Pure survival instinct kicked in. No one was listening anymore. The two leaders even had to make an example out of their own guys just to try and stop the fight. Watching the scorpion army and the lizard army just completely lose it, even I was a little shocked. Clearly these two species had some serious bad blood between them. But then I looked over at the scorpion general and the lizard general, who still hadn't made a move. And that got me thinking. Two species that hate each other this much, and yet their leaders are holding back? Almost like they're scared to throw the first punch. I could only think of one reason. Something way more powerful out there, something that straight up forbids them from going to war. What kind of existence could intimidate two races this massive? I felt a sudden urgency creep in. Sooner or later, someone's gonna notice something's off about this lake. I just didn't want it to be now. I wasn't strong enough yet. Sure, being the lake itself means I'm pretty hard to kill, but I knew this world had some seriously nasty magic out there. The scorpion general and the lizard general could see the battle was inevitable, but neither of them moved. They both turned toward the lake instead. They both saw it. A water arrow had shot out of the lake out of nowhere, spooked one of the scorpion soldiers, and that's what sparked this whole thing. The two of them scanned the lake carefully, but came up with nothing. The lizard general opened that massive jaw in fury, and a glob of green venom came blasting out. The moment that venom hit the water, it spread fast. Every fish and shrimp it touched floated straight to the surface, belly up. I didn't flinch. I was waiting for the right moment. Finally, the scorpion general couldn't hold back either. The stinger on its tail lit up red and fired dozens of shots into the water. But all it did was splash. Nothing. Both of them were confused now. Neither could sense anything unusual coming from the lake. Their probing attacks got them absolutely nowhere. The scorpion general glanced over at the lizard general, basically telling it to go check things out underwater. Made sense. Lizards are amphibious. Scorpions are strictly land creatures. The lizard general let out a couple angry roars at the scorpion general, then slowly, carefully slipped into the water and dove to the bottom. My chance. I didn't hesitate. 4 water ropes took shape right there in the water. Down here they hit way harder. This is my turf. The lizard had no time to react. All 4 limbs locked down tight. Nothing left but its tail thrashing uselessly in the water. I controlled the current to neutralize every ripple its struggle was making, and launched a water arrow barrage at the same time. The lizard general got pierced clean through, no resistance. It went still. I wrapped it in a controlled current to contain the blood. Couldn't let it stain the lake red. Up on the shore, the scorpion general was getting anxious. The lizard general had been gone way too long. Then suddenly, it couldn't sense the lizard general's presence at all. Pure dread. It turned to bolt, not on my watch. Whoosh, 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 whoosh! 4 water ropes wrapped it up from behind like a burrito, yanked it straight into the water. The scorpion general was stunned. But that stinger? Completely useless against a body made of water. No surprises here. 1 water blade, and it was done. Just like that, the scorpion general and the lizard general, the 2 strongest, both taken out, and the armies on shore had already torn each other apart by half. I surged the lake water up in a massive reverse wave, swept every scorpion and lizard still fighting on shore into the water, then whipped up a wave to finish them all off. Those monsters had already burned through all their stamina in the fight. One by one, bodies started floating up. The whole lake ran red. The shore was covered in limbs and severed tails. Brutal scene, and I started absorbing every body in the water, still giving me a decent chunk of energy points. A deep sense of crisis was weighing on me. When there were no monsters to hunt, I was planning my next moves, grinding my only 3 attack skills, and running combat drills with Tianha all at the same time. I noticed that all 3 of my skills got a solid boost whenever I used Spring Rain, and my new skill, Water Arrow, combined with Tianha's Ghost Spike, had some crazy good synergy. During downtime, I'd wander around checking out the plants and animals in the lake. With the spiritual water nourishing everything, the creatures in the lake were growing insanely fast. Watching the fish and shrimp swim around, I started thinking, should I raise my own little army of sea critters someday? Wait, what is that thing? My senses picked up a small, strange creature on the shore. It looked like a gecko, but with jet black wings on its back. Honestly, it had Major Dragon from a Western movie energy, just way too tiny. In the months since I came to this world, every creature I'd seen was way bigger than anything back home. Even the scorpions grew to half the size of a horse. But this gecko looked exactly like a normal gecko from my past life. At that moment, the gecko was trying to burrow into a scorpion's head. Those scorpions were covered in thick, hard shells. Getting inside shouldn't be easy. But this little thing didn't even break a sweat. One swipe of its claw punched a hole right through, and it slipped straight in. A moment later, it crawled back out looking completely satisfied, then lifted its head and scanned the surroundings. Then it cheerfully went after another scorpion carcass, those tiny eyes full of life. I was hooked. I quietly cast Waterbind, sending a water rope creeping along the ground toward it. The moment it wriggled out of the scorpion's head, my water rope was already waiting, and it snapped tight around its little body. The gecko thrashed its claws like crazy, slashing at the rope over and over, but it had no idea what it was up against. Water has no form. No matter how sharp those tiny claws were, there was nothing to cut through. Just as I was sitting back ready to mess with this weird little gecko, it vanished. I pushed my senses to the limit and found it had somehow slipped inside a scorpion carcass. How did it break free and how did it get inside that thing? I was completely lost. The water rope was still holding its shape mid-air, so it definitely didn't brute force its way out. Interesting. Let's see how many times you can pull that off. Not buying it, I summoned 4 or 5 water ropes this time and wrapped them around the little gecko all at once. Even hiding inside the carcass wasn't going to save it. Sure enough, the gecko vanished again, but this time it reappeared close by and I caught it instantly. Another water rope was already waiting. After 4 rounds, I finally figured out how it was escaping. Every time my rope caught it, the tiny wings on its back would flutter, and then it would just blink to somewhere else entirely. Had to be some kind of spatial ability. But at its current level, it clearly couldn't teleport far, which is why it kept popping up nearby every single time. And it couldn't even control the direction. I watched it slam headfirst into the ghost spike tree, and a plan started forming in my mind. The little gecko, in the most hilariously human way, rubbed its head with both claws, looked up at the tree, and started climbing. Before it could even reach the top, the black spikes growing along the trunk suddenly shot straight at it. The gecko lunged with its front claws and snapped one of the ghost spikes clean off. The ghost spike tree shook with rage, and more spikes were already coming.